I never imagined that at 62 years old, after raising two children, supporting my husband through decades of long hours and short vacations, and finally learning how to enjoy the quiet of my own life, I would feel like an inconvenience. But that's exactly how it felt when my son told me there wasn't enough room. It happened on a Tuesday afternoon, the kind of day that feels uneventful until it suddenly is. I was folding laundry in the guest room when my phone rang. My son Daniel was calling. I smiled when I saw his name. He didn't call often, not because we were distant, but because life had become busy for him in the way it always does when children grow up and create families of their own. "Hi, Mom," he said, his voice warm but distracted. "Hi, sweetheart," I replied, "everything okay?" Yeah, everything's fine. I just wanted to talk to you about the family trip." The family trip. Every summer for the past 12 years, we'd gone somewhere together. Sometimes it was a beach house, sometimes a cabin in the mountains, once even a road trip across 3 states that left us exhausted but laughing. After my husband passed away 4 years ago, those trips became even more meaningful to me. They were reminders that although my life had changed, my family still included me. This year, Daniel and his wife, Melissa, had volunteered to plan everything. They said they wanted to take the stress off me. I'd been touched by the gesture, though something about it had felt distant. "What about it?" I asked. Daniel hesitated. I could hear it in his breathing. "Well, Mom, Melissa and I were looking at the rental details, and it turns out the place is a little smaller than we thought." I paused, folding a towel slowly. "Oh," I said, "that's okay. I don't need much space. I can take the couch if." "That's the thing," he interrupted gently but firmly. "There really isn't enough room." The words landed heavier than they should have. "I don't understand," I said. "You said it was a 3-bedroom place." "It is," he replied, "but one room is ours, one is for the kids, and the third is really small. Melissa thought it would be better used as a playroom." A playroom. I waited for him to continue, for the punchline, for the reassurance that this was temporary or solvable. But instead, he said the words I never expected to hear. "So we thought maybe you could sit this one out." I felt my chest tighten. "Sit it out," I repeated. "Just this year," he added quickly. "It's not personal, it's just logistics." Logistics, such a neat word for something that felt so messy inside my heart. "I see," I said quietly. Daniel sensed the shift in my tone. "Mom, please don't take this the wrong way." But of course I did. How could I not? After we hung up, I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the folded laundry like it belonged to someone else. I replayed the conversation again and again, searching for the moment I'd misunderstood. But there it was, plain and clear. There wasn't room for me anymore. That evening, I didn't cry, not yet. I made dinner, washed dishes, watched television. I went through the motions like a woman practicing life instead of living it. It wasn't until I climbed into bed that the tears came, quiet, restrained, the kind that soak into your pillow so no one ever has to see them. I told myself they were entitled to their own lives, that families change, that I was being sensitive. But deep down, another voice whispered, "You've been set aside." The next morning, I did something unexpected. Instead of calling Daniel back to argue or explain my feelings, I opened my laptop and booked my own trip. Not out of spite, not out of anger. Out of curiosity. I realized that for the first time in decades, I could go anywhere I wanted. I didn't need to consider children's schedules or shared bathrooms or whether the beach had enough shade. I didn't need to compromise. So I chose a small coastal town I'd always wanted to visit but never had. A place with quiet mornings, walking trails, and a little bed and breakfast overlooking the water. I booked a room for 10 days. When the confirmation email arrived, something inside me shifted. Not happiness exactly, but possibility. I told no one. In the weeks leading up to the trip, Daniel sent occasional updates about their plans. Photos of the rental, questions about where certain old toys were stored. I responded politely, carefully, never mentioning my own plans. Melissa never reached out. The night before they left, Daniel called again. "I just wanted to say thanks for understanding, Mom," he said. I closed my eyes. "Of course," I replied, "have a wonderful time." And I meant it. The next morning, while they packed their car with beach chairs and snacks, I boarded a train heading in the opposite direction. The bed and breakfast was everything I'd hoped for. My room faced the ocean, and the sound of waves greeted me every morning like a private promise. I spent my days walking along the shore, reading novels I'd put off for years, and eating meals slowly, savoring each bite without worrying if anyone else was hungry or bored. On the third day, I struck up a conversation with another guest, a woman named Evelyn who was traveling alone after her divorce. "Why now?" she asked me over breakfast. I thought about it. "Because I finally realized I could," I said. Something about saying it aloud made it real. Halfway through my stay, I posted a photo on social media. Just one, a picture of the ocean at sunset, captioned, "Sometimes space is exactly what you need." I didn't tag anyone. Within minutes, my phone buzzed. It was Daniel. "Mom," his text read, "Are you on vacation?" I smiled. "Yes," I replied, "I am." There was a long pause before his next message. "I didn't know." "I know," I wrote back. Later that night he called. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, confusion and something like guilt in his voice. "You didn't ask," I said gently. He was quiet for a moment. "Mom, are you okay?" I looked out at the dark water beyond my window. "I'm better than okay," I said, and for the first time since our conversation weeks earlier, it was true. When the family trip ended, Daniel came by my house alone. He looked tired, sunburned, and older somehow. "I owe you an apology," he said, sitting across from me at the kitchen table. I didn't realize how hurtful that must have been. I studied his face, the same face that once looked up at me for reassurance before the first day of school. "I'm not angry," I said, "but I am different now." He frowned. "Different how?" "I won't shrink myself to fit into spaces where I'm optional," I replied calmly. "I love you, I love your family, but I won't pretend it didn't hurt." He nodded slowly. Melissa sent me a message later that week. It wasn't long, but it was sincere. She admitted she hadn't thought through the impact of the decision and hoped we could start fresh. "We're working on it. Our relationship isn't broken, but it's been reset on healthier terms." Next summer, there's talk of another trip. This time, Daniel asked me first what I would like. And I smiled, knowing that whether I go with them or choose my own adventure again, I've learned something invaluable. There is always room for people who refuse to disappear. And sometimes the most unexpected thing you can do is choose yourself.